Been an interesting few months, obviously, for the whole country. But if you really take a look at what's been happening in Michigan, it would give you a preview of what would then transpire to happen at the Capitol, perhaps not with such magnitude. But it was only 8 months ago in April that the Capitol here in Michigan was taken over, if you will, by a few people who had stormed in while they were having one of those protests against Governor Gretchen Whitmer's strict lockdown measures. And I talked to the governor just last week, and when I began the line of questioning, I asked her if she was surprised by what happened at the Capitol, and she kind of scoffed at that and looked at me and said, "Roop, how can anyone be surprised if they just saw what happened here in Michigan 8 months ago?" So while there was talk about doing this ban, this open carry ban, it wasn't supposed to be for at least another month when that happened. Instead, though, it kind of took the front burner for a very good reason, because of what happened at the Capitol. The Michigan State Capitol Commission is what it's known as. Essentially, they said, look, let's go ahead and put this on the panel for us to be able to sit down and take a look at it. And today, they voted to ban open carry right here in the state of Michigan. Well, lawmakers were going to tackle this again in a month's time, but because of what happened in Washington on Wednesday, things got sped up just a bit.
And Roop, you know, this is not anything done by the legislature. Like you said, this is kind of an executive commission. Is that right? The Capitol State Commission, who the panel decides this. So, you know, for those people who might have, you know, carried openly before this, can they still have a concealed carry permit in the state capitol as well?
They certainly can, and much to the chagrin of the governor and others who are advocating for a total ban on weapons, that's not something that will happen now. Instead, this is just simply the panel, as you mentioned, not the legislature. This is not the Michigan State Legislature voting to ban open carry. This instead is that panel, the Michigan State Capitol Commission. The panel saying, look, we're not going to have open carry. The objection that still stands right now in the state of Michigan are for those out there who are upset by the fact that you can still bring a weapon in. It just can't be open carry. So, you know, the governor today released a statement essentially saying you have fourth graders who are going through here for tour groups, not unlike what's happening all across the country. From everyone who's watching NewsNOW by Fox, we know that every capital has tour groups. She's weary of the fact that these tour groups will still be exposed to the potential of people who are bringing weapons with them, whether or not they're open or not. Still, she says, a danger to the people who are inside.
And Roop, just last question for you. You know, this is obviously coming in the wake as well, just a couple months ago, of that plot against Governor Whitmer herself. And you saw some of those people who were implicated in that plot at that rally that you were mentioning in Lansing at that state capitol. Is that kind of maybe some of the impetus for this as well?
Oh, certainly. I think very good point, Andrew. I mean, things were elevated here already before Wednesday. And then, of course, as we know now, all 50 capitals across the country are on guard and on alert because of what happened on Wednesday at the nation's capital. But certainly in this state, the plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer, the fact that, as you mentioned, some of the players and the operatives who were in charge of that not only planned to kidnap the governor, they also had a plan to storm the Capitol. At one point, some of these operatives saying, let's lock the doors and set the place on fire. So there were some pretty varied threats coming from various people within that organization. Again, not necessarily an organized group, but from some of the factions of the people who are out there. So that certainly played into the decision that was made today.
And we've seen a lot of these state capitals take precautions. I believe Wisconsin's is boarding up. We saw what happened there in Washington State and Oregon State. As far as Michigan State Capitol there in Lansing, do you expect maybe that they would just close it all together and not have it open to the public unless it's in session?
You know, that's a really good question, and that's one that we will get to the bottom of when we talk to our folks out on the ground in Lansing. That's certainly something that's not off the table. We've heard that before. You know, January 16th is a day where so many people are being told, who are supporters of this uprising against the Capitol in Washington and elsewhere, that you should be on guard to go protest in front of these various capitals. In particular, there were violent threats made to ones in Michigan and Minnesota as well. And so because of that, that is certainly something that's on the table. But we'll get to the bottom of that, and we'll have more for you throughout the week.
All right, Fox 2 Detroit's Roop Raj, thanks for talking to NewsNOW from Fox. We appreciate it.
Good to talk to you, Andrew.
All right, and that's just more fallout in the aftermath of the U.S. Capitol attack just last Wednesday. We're following all the angles of that story here on NewsNOW from Fox. At the moment, though, we do want to show you an event from earlier. We showed you D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. She held a press conference today, but her counterparts in the Delmarva Peninsula area, the D.C. metro area, we're going to go out now to Governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, the Republican, who had a press conference earlier, and no doubt that these security preparations, calling in the National Guard, what have you, were brought